I got to her.
Go on, Sydney. Tell us what happened.
It was a miserable night. I was out in the King's Arms. It's the nearest pub on the way into town. I was heading back to the groundskeeper's cottage when the lightning flashed. It lit up the whole sky bright as day. I spotted something. It was surreal, like a ghostly wraith drifting through the rain. Time seemed to slow down, and I realized it was a person. I ran as fast as I could. The rain was stinging my eyes, so I couldn't tell who it was until I got to her. She was lying so still, I couldn't whisper her name or scream to her. I can't tell. I knelt down beside her, and her eyes fluttered open, unseeing at first, and then she stared right at me. I'll never forget the look she gave me. It haunted my nightmares in the years since.
Sid, did Elizabeth say anything? Did she say anything to you?
Only one word. Edward. And then she started to scream. At first I thought she was screaming in pain, but then she wouldn't stop. And then I realized it wasn't pain, it was fury. Pure, blind fury. She wouldn't stop, and then nothing. It was like her soul had been ripped from her body. I stayed with her until Mr. Marston and Townsend arrived. And we went to the kitchen.
Why did you tell the police that she was already dead when you got to her?
Seemed like the best idea at the time. I didn't want Mr. Marston to think that she had suffered, so I told him that she was already gone when I got to her.
Wow, that was a shocking revelation.
Wilbur!
Sid, that must be an awful weight to have been carrying around for all this time.
Yes, ma'am, it is.
But I can understand your reason.
Mr. Potter, I think it's time for you.
I'm not done, Townsend. Sid, what was your relationship with Mrs. Marston? I hear that she spent a lot of time out in the gardens.
Mrs. Marston was a very kind lady, but me and her shared no more than the cordial exchanges of employer and servant. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have some things to attend to. A storm like this can cause all sorts of damages.
I must say, this is all very intriguing, but whatever happened to the maid?
She's here?
No, I mean the maid that was there that night.
I don't really know. Do you know Cassandra?
No, I don't, nor do I care. If it wasn't for her and that insipid Edward, my sweet baby sister might still be here today.
Would you care for some tea, Miss Monroe?
I wonder where she went. I mean, she must have felt partly to blame for what happened.
Hardly to blame. I hope she suffered for the rest of her life.
Come on, Auntie Cassie, that's a bit steep, don't you think? In your version, Edward pushed her off the roof. You can't have it both ways.
He did. She was my baby sister and he took her from me. It's his fault she's not here now. And stop calling me Auntie Cassie.
Hey, yo. I'm sorry, Miss Monroe. We didn't mean to pry.
No, you must excuse me. I overreacted. I haven't been in this house in so long and everything just came flooding back. It overwhelmed me for a moment. And please, call me Cassandra. Miss Monroe makes me sound so old.
All this happened so long. Surely you all don't believe in ghost stories.
Well, it's pretty hard not to, old boy. There's so many of them.
After her death, Edward locked himself away and hardly ever left.
Even we barely saw him.
I can understand why. He must have felt maybe guilty about it all.
He felt guilty about it, all right. Guilty of murdering his wife.
But I thought no one knew what really happened. I mean, surely the police were involved.
Of course they were, but he played the part of grieving husband incredibly convincingly.
Maybe because he was grieving?
I don't know, sis. Maybe he did do it. Maybe that's why Elizabeth's ghost still haunts this place.
Exactly, and that's why she won't rest until the truth is known.
Did you say, ghost? As in, ghost.
That's what the stories say, though Beatrice and I have never seen anything.
Annette, what do you think? Have you felt anything strange since we got here? Annette is sensitive to these kinds of things.
Really?
Yes, ever since I was a child. I usually keep it to myself. I felt something when we first arrived here. It was odd, a feeling of confusion. I put it down to the storm. Sometimes the storm can amplify certain energies, but the more we're here, the more it's changing. Changing into something more angry.
Well, that is a load of rubbish, if you ask me.
Nobody did ask you, Wilbur.
Like I said, I usually keep it to myself. It tends to make people a little nervous.
She was. Such a dear, sweet soul. She loved Edward, more than life itself, even. She was devastated when she found out that she couldn't have children. She knew how much Edward wanted a child, a family, someone to carry on the family name. That's when the hate started, you see. Terribly painful. It was the stress. Stress that she couldn't give her Edward the one thing he truly wanted.
And what did he do? Comfort her, reassure her? No, he abandoned her. He left her alone when she needed him the most. To be fair, Cassandra, that's not quite true. He did everything he could to help her, brought her to the best doctors money could buy. But it wasn't enough, was it? He spent his money on her. He took her to see every doctor he could find. What she really needed was his love and understanding. She gave up everything for him, everything. And all she ever asked for in return was his love.
Hold Me Forever!
Excuse me?
Hold Me Forever, starring Cassandra Monroe and Tyrone Power. You must have seen it 20 times. It's the scene where Olivia tells Charles why her sister died of a broken heart. It was so moving, but I never imagined I'd see it in person.
Well done, Mr. Brooks. You really are a fan. Yes, it is a quote from Hold Me Forever, but it doesn't make it any less true. If Edward only spent more time giving Elizabeth his love and understanding instead of shuttling her from doctor to doctor, maybe none of this would have ever happened.
I'm so sorry to interrupt. Mr. Townsend was wondering if there's anything else you might need?
No. I think we're all right for now. Thank you. Oh, you can leave a tea thing, if you would.
You must excuse my mother's theatrics. It all gets a bit too much sometimes. And as she said earlier, this is the first time she's been in the house since my Aunt Elizabeth died.
It's all right. You have nothing to apologize about. It must be a great strain on her. Do you remember her at all? Your Aunt Elizabeth, I mean.
Oh, not much. I was very young when she passed. But from what I do remember, she was lovely, kind and sweet. I visited my uncle from time to time over the years. After she died, he was a changed man.
If you don't mind me asking, what do you think happened that night?
Oh, I think Davina's descriptions of the events were mostly factual up to a point. Past then, something very different could have happened.
How so?
Well, I think Edward was in a rage at being caught. He was that angry she was terrified of him.
I've never heard anything about her temper. I've only ever heard that Edward loved Aunt Elizabeth and would have done anything for her.
Well, cousin, maybe you don't know everything. I know that Aunt Elizabeth wrote to my mother several times about his terrible temper. It got worse after he found out he wouldn't have a child to carry on his name. Maybe that night his temper got the better of him. They could have fought, or maybe she was pleading with him and he pushed her over the balcony.
But it's all speculation. No one really knows what happened that night. Besides Edward and Elizabeth, and it's a bit too late to ask them.
Maybe, maybe not. What Robert says is true, but I have a feeling that something in this house wants the truth to be known. Why else would Edward keep me from this house for so long?
Maybe he didn't want some interfering busybody harassing him while he was mourning.
Besides, it's not like you can twist it to your advantage. How many magazines did you have interviewing you after her death? They came to me. Still, money doesn't buy that kind of fame.
Hold it right there.
How dare you accuse me of using my sister's death for publicity? I was only trying to keep her memory alive the only way I knew how.
But I don't remember you accusing Mr. Marston of any wrongdoing.
Trust me, I wanted to, but my publicist warned me it would be career suicide to accuse a man as rich and powerful as Edward Marston of such a crime with no hard evidence. But that's just my cross to bear. I should have said something. I should have spoken my mind. Maybe then there would have been some justice for her.
Yes, that is your burden. We all want to know what happened when Aunt Elizabeth died. And now we finally have a chance to find out.
How do you propose to do that?
We're here all night, aren't we?
Aunt Bee is right. We might as well take the opportunity to nose around, see what we can dig up. I've always wanted to see their bedroom, see the scene of the crime.
But surely nothing will be left after all these years.
That's fair on. Tell them, sis.
Uncle Edward left the house exactly the way it was on the day of the accident. He locked up their bedroom and moved to another down the hall. Other than the police, no one allowed to go in there.
How on earth did you know all this?
Some people collect stamps, other people chase film stars. Davina collects stories about Weird Uncle Edward. She's collected every article she can, tracked down other staff who worked here before, even spoken to a couple of policemen who were there that night. She's a fountain of information on the subject.
And now I get a chance to see it for myself. Who wants to come with me?
Well, I certainly do. I've waited a long time for an opportunity like this. Count me in too. This is exciting.
I guess that leaves me to... gives me an excuse to explore this house anyways. Won't we, need a key or something?
That's me, old boy.
Oh, I have an idea. What if we held a seance? Would you be all right with that, Elinette?
Oh, please say yes.
Yes, I'd be willing to do that, but we need something of Elizabeth's to really focus on our energy.
Only if you really want to, dear. Don't do it if you feel coerced.
No, don't worry. I really want to help if I can.
Great, let's pool our information and see what we know. Who in the staff have you spoken to?
I've tried to speak to Townsend, but he won't say a word of any of it.
Yes, me too. I can't work out if he's incredibly loyal or he has something to hide.
Do you think Townsend helped Edward kill Elizabeth and then cover it up?
The butler did it.
Heavens, no, I just think he must have seen or heard something that night, but he's not telling us.
If you're ready to retire for the evening, I can show you to your rooms. I've had them made ready.
That would be most kind, Mr. Townsend. Townsend, are any of our rooms anywhere near Elizabeth?
Oh, no, miss. Mrs. Marston's room is located on the east wing of the house, and all of your rooms are on the west wing.
Would we be able to see the room?
I will see if I can locate a key, miss. Would you please show our guests their rooms?
I'm gonna head to the kitchen. See if I can't have Mr. Poole rustle me up bedtime snack.
I've been meaning to check. Do you know where the key to Mrs. Marston's room is kept? We asked about it, but he's being a little bit, Townsend.
I actually do know where he keeps it.
Would you be an absolute angel and go and find it for me? It's terribly important.
Of course.
Good grief, man, you almost scared me half to death. What in the blazes were you doing out there?
I saw
You saw what?
nothing, sir. Sorry.
Right. Well, come in out of the rain.
I'll go around the side of the kitchen, sir. Mrs. Peel will have a fit if I trip all over the floor.
Close the doors, will you? It's freezing out there. Did you find it?
Right here.
Beauty. Didn't run into any trouble, did you?
No, Mrs. Peel was too busy flirting with Cassandra Monroe's husband. She didn't even notice me.
You are a lovely girl. I am eternally grateful.
Mrs. Robert Ascot. It's kind of like history repeating itself as Elizabeth. A modest girl from a small town marrying a handsome, very wealthy, and did I mention handsome gentleman? Of course, I wouldn't end up like you though. Hurling myself off a balcony in a tantrum is not my style. Of course, it would make having this a little bit more legitimate. I would say I'm sorry for taking it off your desk, but that would just be lying. You clearly didn't need it anymore, and it looks good on me anyways. What in the blazes was that? It's you. What are you doing in there? Is this a secret passageway? Where does it lead to?
Oh my goodness. Mr. Hill.
That has to be the most amusing story I've ever heard.
I have loads of stories just like that one.
Oh my, I'd love to hear them sometime. Lucy, hurry up with Mr. Hill's repast. Poor man's gonna starve before you get here. Not there, over
here. God, she's so slow sometimes.
Well, thank you anyways, Marvin. It's so terribly kind of you to go out of your way and make me something to eat at such a late hour. Especially after that glorious meal you made earlier.
Oh, it's no trouble at all. It's nice to cook for people to actually eat the food I've made for once. I don't want to speak ill of the dead, but poor Mr. Marston barely touched anything I made, especially in those last few months. It's like he completely lost the will to live. Poor soul.
You know, his loss, our gain, and all that. If I'm to stay here an entire night, I might as well be fed and happy, I say. Is it alright if I take this up to my room?
Oh, it's no trouble at all. I'll do it. If Lucy does it, you won't get it till next week.
Well, lead the way, Marvin. Give me a tour on the way.
Lucy, you're too slow. Lucy, that's not right. Lucy, everything you do is wrong. That's odd. Who do you belong to? But how is that possible? No, please, don't.
What in the dickens are you blathering on about? There's nobody in here! And stop that stupid crying! I can't hear anything when you're making that awful noise!
Lucy, take a breath and calm down. Pass out. Miss Elizabeth was here.
What are you talking about?
She was here. I heard her. I saw her.
You sniveling little wretch! Don't you dare tell tales!
Don't you raise your head at her again, Marjorie. Can't you see how scared she is?
So I'm supposed to stand here and listen to her tell lies?
And don't tell lies. You mean to tell me you've never seen anything strange in this house? Anything you can't quite explain?
No, I haven't. I come here, I do my job, and I leave. Oh, I've heard the stories, all right. Everyone in town knows the stories about Marston Manor. But do I believe them? No, they're a bunch of nonsense.
Marjorie Peel, I've been here a lot longer than you, and I know what I've seen.
What you've seen, Sydney, has come from the bottom of the booze glass. You're as fat as she is.
You don't know what I've seen. Miss Elizabeth never left this place. I don't think she ever could. The housekeeper before you, why do you think she left? She left because of what she saw. Miss Elizabeth is tied to this place. She can't leave, can't find peace.
Will you listen to yourself? There's no such thing as ghosts. They're stories made up for children. I'm going to go check on my guests, and if you two know what's good for you, you'll go back to the kitchen and shut your mouths.
You poor girl. Don't you worry about that silly old biddy. Will you calm down? A little bit, but I don't want to be in here. I know. Just tell me what you saw. I found a locket on the floor. Miss Elizabeth said it was hers, so I put it back on the mantle. Sid, don't. It's okay. It's hers, all right? What do we do? For starters, let's get you back to the kitchen to warm up. Your hands are like ice. Maybe Edna's back there. We'll make us some tea and we'll stew with both a world of wonders. After that, I don't know. I don't know.
That girl! What in the world would possess her to tell such lies?
It's not like Lucy to make up stories.
How would you know? Nobody asked for your opinion. Keep them to yourself.
And don't go telling Townsend about this. You know how he gets. I can't be dealing with another one of his moods right now. It's been bad enough since Mr. Marston died. He's acting like he's the one who lost a family member.
Frankly, it's shameful for a servant to act that way. So unprofessional. Can't believe Mr. Marston left him all that money. It's not right if you ask me.
Nobody did.
What did you say?
Me? Nothing. I didn't say anything.
What has gotten into everyone tonight?
The storm's making everybody a bit doolally.
They all need to get a grip and stop all this silliness. Sarah, where did Edna get to?
I don't know. She was in here talking to Mr. Ascot the last time I saw her.
Good grief, that's a train wreck waiting to happen.
He came upstairs by himself. Mr. Townsend showed him to his room.
So she's hiding out down here somewhere then? Shiftless little trolla.
I found kidnapping in the conservatory last week. Just sprawled out of the sofa, snoozing her head off. Didn't need the extra hands or the relatives descending on us. I would have fired her on the spot.
I I'm headed to the kitchen to deal with Lucy. See if you can find her and give her what for.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Mr. Wolf. Sarah, tidy up in here. Idiots! Miss Townsend!
Sarah, I didn't see you there.
It's been a busy day.
Oh, a busy week. We haven't had this much going on at the Marston Manor for a very long time now. I'm afraid we're a little out of practice.
Well, at least it'll all be over soon. I'm sorry, Mr. Townsend, that was a little insensitive. After all, this must be horribly daunting for you. You've worked for Mr. Marston for so many years. It must be so hard to have to end it all so abruptly. And this was your home, too, in Holland.
Yes, well...
The relatives seem to be settling upstairs.
Fortunately, I don't think they have much plans on sleeping tonight. They seem intent upon scouring the house for clues to Mrs. Marston's death. Heaven knows what they think they'll find. They even wanted the key to her room.
I'm guessing you'd rather not hand it over?
I don't know. I feel like handing it over would be wrong. A betrayal somehow of Mr. Marston's trust. I don't know. Maybe it's not my place anymore.
No, I understand.